Have you ever stopped to think about the map in your phone? It's not a piece of paper. You can't fold it up and put it away. It's an invisible digital guide that lives inside a small device. Yet it knows exactly where you are. It can tell you how to get from your house to a new coffee shop across town. It can even estimate exactly when you will arrive, down to the minute. This technology is called the Global Positioning System, or GPS. It has become such a normal part of our lives that we barely even notice its incredible power anymore. To understand how GPS works, we first need to talk about time. For most of human history, we thought of time as a constant universal clock. But then, in the early 20th century, Albert Einstein came along. He turned our understanding of time and space completely on its head. At its heart, GPS is a constellation of satellites. Imagine a swarm of metallic stars, placed there just for us. The most important component inside every GPS satellite is an incredibly precise clock. They are so precise that they would only lose or gain 1 second over millions of years. Your smartphone, or the GPS unit in your car, is the other half of the equation. It is a GPS receiver. It's designed to do one thing very well: listen. It is constantly listening for the faint, whisper-like signals coming down from those satellites high above. The power of the signal your phone receives is much weaker than the light from a refrigerator bulb. So knowing your distance from just one satellite only tells you that you are somewhere on the surface of a giant imaginary sphere. Where these two giant spheres intersect, they form a perfect circle. This third sphere will intersect with the circle created by the first two at just 2 points. To get a truly accurate position, GPS receivers almost always use a fourth satellite. We have a system that on the surface seems pretty much perfect, but there's actually a huge hidden assumption in that simple calculation. And this is where the speed of light becomes a problem. To get an accuracy of just a few meters, the timing has to be accurate to a few nanoseconds. To understand why GPS satellites need Einstein, we must first take a small step into his world. Let's begin with his first great theory, special relativity, which he published in 1905. Imagine you are on a perfectly smooth train, traveling on a perfectly straight track. You could throw a ball up in the air and it would land straight back in your hand. Einstein's second big idea in special relativity was even more revolutionary. He proposed that the speed of light in a vacuum is a universal constant. Imagine a spaceship zipping past you at half the speed of light. You would measure the light speed as exactly 300,000 kilometers per second. If the speed of light must be the same for everyone, then space and time must be flexible. Einstein realized that for a moving observer, time itself must slow down. Picture a light clock on a spaceship. It consists of 2 mirrors with a photon bouncing between them. From your perspective on the ground, you see the photon travel along a diagonal path. The breakthrough came from what he later called his happiest thought. The thought was this: a person in free fall does not feel their own weight. He called it the principle of equivalence. It states that the effects of gravity are completely indistinguishable from the effects of acceleration. Einstein's general relativity asks us to imagine that space and time are woven together into a single 4-dimensional fabric. When you place a massive object onto this sheet, it creates a dent. Now imagine rolling a small marble across this rubber sheet. It will follow the curve in the sheet created by the heavy ball. This leads us to the second major relativistic effect that GPS engineers must consider. This means that a clock at sea level will run slightly slower than a clock on top of a mountain. Imagine a tall rocket ship accelerating in deep space. A light signal is sent from the bottom clock up to the top clock. We have now arrived at the heart of the problem facing GPS engineers. On one side, we have special relativity. On the other side, we have general relativity. So, which theory wins? Let's break down the numbers and see how this battle of the clocks plays out. The satellite's high speed causes their atomic clock to run slower by about 7 microseconds each day. The calculations show that the satellite clocks speed up by about 45 microseconds every day. The gravitational effect is clearly the dominant one. The result is a net gain of 38 microseconds every single day. This is the magic number for GPS. That's an error of 11,400 meters, or about 11.4 kilometers. It's the difference between being in London and being in a field miles outside the city. The engineers who designed the GPS system came up with a brilliantly simple and elegant solution. Before a GPS satellite is launched, its atomic clock is meticulously calibrated here on Earth. Instead, it is intentionally engineered to run slightly slower. Then the satellite is launched into orbit. In 1977, the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory launched the NTS-2 satellite. The results were immediate and, honestly, undeniable. Just as Einstein's theories had predicted, the satellite's clock began to run faster. The skeptics were silenced. So, let's imagine for a moment that this test never happened. By the end of that first day, the system has already developed a positioning error of over 11 kilometers. The system would be worse than useless. It would be dangerously misleading. The entire global infrastructure built around precise location would crumble. The correction for relativity doesn't just enable the basic positioning function of GPS. Consider the global financial system. The same is true for our communication networks. Even the electrical power grids use GPS to synchronize the flow of electricity. So, the next time you glance at your phone to check your location on a map, maybe take a moment to appreciate what you are really witnessing. That simple blue dot, moving so smoothly across the screen, is the final result of an incredible cosmic story. It's a story that connects the deepest, most fundamental laws of the universe with the technology you hold in the palm of your hand. It is a daily, practical demonstration that the universe is far stranger and more wonderful than our everyday intuition might suggest. The story of GPS is, in many ways, the story of Albert Einstein's legacy. When he first proposed his theories in the early 20th century, they were seen as triumphs of the human mind, but with little practical application. This is a powerful lesson in the value of pure, curiosity-driven science. Every single one of the billions of GPS receivers in use today is a small, personal device that confirms the reality of time dilation. Ultimately, the story of GPS and relativity invites us to look at the world a little differently. It encourages us to maintain a sense of wonder about the technology that surrounds us. It reminds us that our world is built on a foundation of scientific discovery. This is a fundamental shift in perspective, a new way of seeing the very framework of our existence. So, the next time you look up at the day or night sky, remember the invisible constellation of satellites orbiting high above. And that simple truth is perhaps the most important destination that GPS can ever help us to find.